world needs to know it because Jodi Hildebrandt's doing the same thing right now with these kids that she did to me.
Adam Steed says he went to Jodi Hildebrandt for counseling because he needed help. But she betrayed his trust, and now he's here to tell his story. When did you first encounter Jodi Hildebrandt?
So my Mormon bishop asked me to go to Jodi Hildebrandt with my wife for therapy. And, we were just trying to be normal people and live a normal life. It's hard for me to talk about this stuff because it's so traumatic.
What year was this that you were being counseled by Jodi Hildebrandt?
2008. We just finished the scouting settlement. I think it was in April that I had started therapy with Jodi Hildebrandt, a group therapy with Jodi Hildebrandt with me and my wife.
How did the counseling start? Did it seem to go well at first, or were there red flags right away?
I will tell you a story that Jodi Hildebrandt's more sophisticated than a normal person in a lot of ways. She evolved into what she became. She put us in a phase 1. There's phase 2 and phase 3 of the particular group she was in at the point. And phase 1, it wasn't very intense. It was lighthearted and fun. And, think of like a PG movie or something, and a lady that's just charismatic and fun and teaching these principles about delusion, denial, and all this kind of stuff. Codependency, using small examples in people's lives where they didn't realize they were in this state and the whole room laughing about it. That was phase 1. And it was, couples, all happy couples thinking they were with this incredible lady. When she separated the couples into all women and all men groups, then after she gained everyone's trust, then really bad things began to happen. And what's different in my case is that when I chose to leave this like cult-like group, Jodi tried to punish me, and she worked through BYU Honor Code office and legal measures to try to hurt me. And I have the emails between my ex-wife and her planning out all this stuff, talking about what the real issues in our marriage were, and then them evolving that into something drastically different with allegations that would totally destroy your life. And how that evolution happened from what they originally were like is just astounding. I had to come forward because when I heard that they were doing the same thing to those little kids that they did to me to hide their crimes, it was totally predictable. And I knew my records would just completely show the world the truth of how dangerous this lady really is. And clients that are close to her that are probably not really good people in the first place, but that she enhances their abilities under her guidance to do incredibly criminal things.
Adam claims that Jodi Hildebrandt conspired with his then wife to accuse him of sexually abusing their child.
I never had the courage to talk about this openly because the damage was so bad. After Jodi and my ex-wife got done trying to make me look like a child abuser and a sexual addict and a rapist and everything else, having been a victim that came forward to change the laws to protect children, and having the insecurities that victims have, the stigma and all that stuff, and Jodi working on me to try to make me look like I was a predator. In her final stage, when I refused to pay all the money and refused to stay in the group and was so uncomfortable with it, what they did to me, the coordinated attack to create the solution and all the stuff, I have all the documentation and these fine, I'm Jodi coaching my ex-wife in fine. I'll share that in this other interview, the exact words as she coaches her through how to make people think that they're coming up with the idea themselves when they're when she's trying to contort people's minds into thinking that there had been abuse and violence. And when you start to see this evidence of what the real issues were, what Jodi's agenda was, how she went about it, and the documentation for it, these people will be hung. I mean, the game's over. And these little kids that, that they're accusing of abuse, sexual abuse right now, to hide their crimes, that's just an old MO. And I'll
So
be
what
able to
Ruby
prove
said in court that day about one of her children sexually abusing other children and then people in the neighborhood, you're saying that's the same thing that Jodi tried to do to you?
Well, not just to me, to probably hundreds of people. And there's going to be so many victims coming forward with the same story. A story that if you told it on your own by yourself, everyone would think you're weird and creepy. But when 100 people come forward and tell the exact same story, and that's why Jodi's they're trying to act sick and speed up the hearing, is they don't want this complicated thing to materialize and then show this incredible crime.
Adam Steed said he went to counseling sessions with Jodi Hildebrandt for 6 months, and then he stopped. He described a rigidity in Hildebrandt's counseling style. For example, Steed claims Hildebrandt became upset if men looked at something like the swimsuit issue of Sports Illustrated, likening it to pornography. Once he tried to leave her counseling sessions, Steed said things got ugly.
She was just contacting, like, she didn't want me to leave her therapy group. And she had my wife send an email message to me of the terms so that the marriage wouldn't end. And then it included that I had to go back to Jodi. I had to pay for, it was thousands of dollars a month. That I couldn't go to any other therapist. I was trying to go to other therapists because they were saying I was an addict in denial. And, it was just crazy. Jodi, in her group, she said that if you had to spend time not thinking about something, just the fact that you had to not think about it meant you were an addict. I mean, she brought everybody in. And now she was saying I was mentally unhealthy and I couldn't choose for myself because of how unhealthy I was. I couldn't choose to go to another therapist. This was my addiction working to not receive the confrontation that she had. And, she just, y'all, this is just so hard to talk about. Like, I'm trying to give a condensed, quick version without sharing all these dramatic files that are the complete evidence of who this lady is and what she is. But the short version, she wouldn't let me leave therapy.
Adam Steed says Jodi Hildebrandt violated his trust when she shared information about his counseling sessions without his permission. Documents we obtained from the state of Utah show Hildebrandt's license was suspended for a time in 2012, and that she admitted to discussing a John Doe's clinical diagnosis without his permission with clergy and 2 other mental health therapists. The documents also say that Hildebrandt admitted to doing this, and that she also shared information with administrators at the John Doe's University. Steed says he is the John Doe listed in these documents. Currently, Jodi Hildebrandt's counseling license is listed as active. Adam Steed says he believes more people will come forward with stories about Jodi Hildebrandt.
I just want to say that to any victims out there that have had their lives destroyed by Jodi Hildebrandt, or any of this kind of stuff, I just want you to know that you need to have courage and come forward and talk about it. You're not alone, and it's super traumatic, but if you talk about it, after a while, the trauma will go away and you will live in a much more beautiful life for you and your family and your children and for everybody in the future. And I'm now actually pretty happy, other than just sharing this like re-traumatized, terrible, dark chapter of life that happened. And the world needs to know it because Jodi Hildebrandt's doing the same thing right now with these kids that she did to me.